Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Brody Carter. Today, Israel planning a major expansion in its military assaults against Hamas. The government approving a plan to capture the entire Gaza Strip and stay there for an unspecified amount of time. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promising to retaliate against the Houthis and take action against Iran after the Houthis hit Ben Gurion airport with a missile attack. And here in the U.S., growing signs that the gospel is spreading among younger people, especially among men. And an Israeli father of a released hostage talks to CBN News about the nearly 500 days his son was in captivity, the miracle he saw during that dark time, and hope for the Israelis as the future comes closer. Those stories and more today on NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We do begin in the Middle East, where Israel is calling up tens of thousands of reservists as it prepares to intensify and expand its war on Hamas. In order to conquer all of Gaza and hold the territory, Israel is also promising retaliation after a Houthi missile struck near Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport Sunday. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
The Security Cabinet today unanimously approved the plan to expand the Gaza operation, providing for the conquering of Gaza and holding the territories.
The Army has the plans ready to take over the Gaza Strip. The government thinks this should be done. The question is the timing and how do you balance between the need to bring back the hostages on one hand and destroying Hamas on the other hand.
The announcement comes one day after a Houthi missile hit Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport. Netanyahu warned the Houthis and Iran they both bear responsibility for the attack.
We will not tolerate it. We will take very strong action against them. And we always remember that they act with their patron Iran's direction and support.
On X, Netanyahu reposted an earlier message by President Trump blaming Iran for Houthi attacks and added, President Trump is absolutely right. Attacks by the Houthis emanate from Iran. Israel will respond to the Houthi attack against our main airport and at a time and place of our choosing to their Iranian terror masters. This is the main entrance into David Ben Gurion Airport. Just across the road, you can see where the Houthi missile hit from nearly 1,400 miles away. Whoa! Social media lit up with footage of when the missile hit about 350 yards from the main airport terminal. After the strike, the Houthis announced a complete aerial blockade of Ben Gurion Airport.
The airport operations were completely halted for more than an hour. With this, the Yemeni armed forces reaffirmed their warning to all international airlines to cease flights to Ben Gurion Airport, as it has become unsafe for air navigation.
The attack left passengers stranded after multiple airlines temporarily canceled their flights. It's uncertain when those flights will resume. Also this weekend, Iran unveiled a new missile it says can bypass the U.S. THAAD anti-ballistic defense system with ease and said American bases are their targets.
If we are attacked, if a war is imposed on us, we will give a powerful response. We will attack their interests, their bases, without any reservations or limitations.
Meanwhile, IDF Chief of Staff General Eyal Zamir announced they're calling up tens of thousands of reserves in order to defeat the terror group and bring the hostages home.
Well, Chris Mitchell joins us live now from Jerusalem. Chris, what are the goals of this ground operation in Gaza and what are the risks?
Well, right now, Brody, they want to conquer Gaza and hold the territory. Right now, during the war, they have sometimes taken over territory but ceded it back, and Hamas has taken over some of that. Right now, the IDF controls about 30% of Gaza. What they want to do as well is destroy the entire Hamas infrastructure. One expert said recently that 40% of Hamas's tunnel network still exists, and they have hundreds of kilometers the IDF really wasn't aware of. And so they want to eliminate Hamas as a threat and pressure Hamas to release the hostages. They're also presenting a new plan to prevent Hamas from taking control of humanitarian aid, which Hamas has been doing since the beginning of the war. The risk right now, Brody, civilian casualties. Hamas uses them as human shields, and especially to the hostages. Will Hamas yield and release them, or could they simply kill them? The IDF chief did warn that in this operation, they could lose the hostages.
Amazing. An estimated 40% of those tunnels still remain. But with tens of thousands of reservists being called up now, Chris, how significant is this escalation and how long do you think it'll last?
Well, it's very significant, and it's really a change in the whole design of what the IDF and the government want to do. How long it will last remains to be seen, but they want to start gradually. Likely they will begin after President Trump visits the region, which will be next week. Netanyahu has said in wars, you reach a decision, and the decision for them is victory. It will likely be in stages. Amir Avivi, who we interviewed about this earlier, he said it would be vast and decisive. The goals are clear, but the timing and the tactics remain to be decided in how events unfold. But this is really a dramatic escalation and a dramatic change in the way the IDF and the government have been waging the war against Hamas in Gaza.
Chris, hostilities are on every side of Israel. Do you think this could spread into a wider war with Hezbollah?
Well, not really. I don't think with Hezbollah. And the reason I say that, Brody, is because Hezbollah really doesn't have the capability they once had. They have been degraded substantially. Most of their missile and rocket arsenal has been decimated. They're under pressure right now in southern Lebanon, as well as throughout Lebanon itself. They're really a shadow of its former power over Lebanon. So it seems unlikely that Hezbollah would really respond in a dramatic way to help Hamas. Hamas itself has been degraded significantly. So it remains this, since October 7th, Brody, you know, the proxies of Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and even the Houthis, despite their missile attack yesterday, have been damaged significantly.
Well, let's talk about that missile attack, a really striking stand-up in the danger zone. You were there right outside of Ben Gurion Airport yesterday. How close did that missile come to the main terminal?
It was extremely close, Brody. You know, as you look at, for those that have been here and visited Israel, it's the last turn before you go to the departures and arrivals terminal, about 350 yards. And, you know, the implications are very significant, too. It hit an orchard. There's an orchard, believe it or not, right there on the grounds of the airport, just a few football fields away from that main terminal. Could have been far worse if it hit the terminal or the runways or even an airplane, God forbid. So the goal of the Houthis has been to shut down the airport, and they succeeded yesterday for just a few hours, but the long-term implications are dramatic. It has an impact on international flights. We don't know when some of these international airlines are going to resume their flights. It's going to have a dramatic impact on tourism, which is an economic lifeline for Israel. I talked to a taxi driver yesterday, and I asked him about it, and he said if they have another hit on the airport, he says tourism is over. It's a bit dramatic, but it's certainly significant. And it also, begs the question about the U.S. bombing campaign against the Houthis. I'm sure it's working, but the Houthis, regardless, have been able to fire about 30 missiles in the last couple of weeks against Israel.
Now, Benjamin Netanyahu's threatening retaliation, Chris, against the Houthis and to act against Iran. So what impact does this have on the U.S.-Iran nuclear talks?
Well, it seems to put pressure on Iran, and it's telling that Benjamin Netanyahu reposted a tweet or something from President Trump about blaming Iran for what the Houthis do. And I think Netanyahu wants to make the point that Iran can't be trusted, that these talks between the U.S. and Iran may be going nowhere. And I think he's trying to make the point that the responsibility is on Iran. And we understand that President Trump, in an interview yesterday to NBC, said the goals of the negotiations with Iran are the complete dismantling of the nuclear program. That's something certainly that Prime Minister Netanyahu and Israel agree with.
Well, CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joining us live from Jerusalem. As always, we'll continue to pray for your safety and the safety of your team. Thank you so much. Well, coming up here at home, more signs that the gospel is spreading as a growing number of young men are going to church, and more Americans say they've committed their lives to Jesus Christ. We'll have that story for you coming up.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning. Get your daily quick start from CBN News. A quick read on the important news of the day delivered right to your inbox. Stay current on breaking news, politics, and entertainment. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Plus, get exclusive stories and daily scripture encouragement just for you. Stay informed. Go to quickstart.news and subscribe today.
Well, Easter Sunday is usually the biggest service of the year for most churches. This year, pastors reported they saw more than the normal Easter bump in attendance, and it's part of a larger trend of younger men filing in and filling those pews and saying yes to the transforming love and grace of Jesus Christ. CBN's Wendy Griffith reports.
Easter was the death of death.
Senior Pastor Greg Laurie tells CBN News Harvest Church in California saw a great turnout Easter Sunday. What caught him by surprise, however, happened at the end when a large number of people gave their lives to Christ.
We saw 500 people make a profession of faith. We called them forward in public invitations. It was fantastic. I can't remember an Easter where we had a response like that.
Let's talk about Gen Z. Let's talk about this the under 30s. Are you also seeing a lot more young people attend Harvest?
Yeah, without question. I was just talking with a teacher yesterday who teaches in a public school, and she has a little Bible club on campus, you know, where the Christian kids meet. She said, I've never seen anything like this in all my years of teaching. 28 out of 30 of them were boys. And that's so unusual, Wendy, because usually, hey, you know, girl power, you girls lead the way in spiritual things. And guys are, you know, sometimes passive at best or resistant. But there's been a complete shift.
Even the New York Times is reporting that more young men are returning to church. Laurie calls it an exciting sign.
And I think one of the reasons for it is just men have been so beaten down in the last, decade or so. They're tired of being browbeaten and young men specifically being told it's bad to be a man, it's bad to be masculine. And there's been a reaction, and I think it's a good reaction.
A new study supports these findings among young men and shows an overall increase of nearly 30 million Americans who say they've committed their lives to Christ compared to 5 years ago.
I think it represents the idea that commitment to Christ, spiritual openness, it's bubbling over into unexpected places of our society today.
There was a master of a house who planted a vineyard.
Laurie also cites the success of recent Christian films in influencing young people, including
The Chosen and something called The House of David that a friend of mine, John Irwin, has done. It's on the life of King David on Amazon. It hit the #1 spot of all the things they offer on the Amazon platform. So all of these things are indicators that people are looking for spiritual answers. People are looking for truth.
Although Laurie believes we're definitely seeing signs of revival, he says what the church really needs to focus on right now is the Great Commission.
And the Great Commission, of course, is go into all the world, preach the gospel, make disciples of all nations. And I just urged everyone that these are effectively the final words of Jesus, if you will, before he ascended to heaven. And so this is important to Jesus. It should be important to us.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
Still ahead, the father of a recently released Israeli hostage, speaking out from his heart about the 498 days his son was in captivity, the miracles that took place in the middle of those horrors, and the hope he has for the future of Israel. That's coming up next. The hostages released from Gaza are telling stories of horror and hope. The former captives and their families take great joy in being reunited with their loved ones after such a long road to recovery. One Israeli-American father spoke with CBN's Julie Stahl about the incredible feeling of having his son back in his arms.
After 498 days in Gaza, freed hostage Sagi Dekel-Chen gained his release from Hamas captors. His father, Jonathan Dekel-Chen, tells CBN News it was like a rebirth.
There's the before and after. It was a living hell every day from October 7, 2023 until February 14th, when he was finally released. And since then, it's like having a newborn 36-year-old son who had his, launch on that day and now is a little under 4 weeks old. It's a crazy concept, but that's how I'm experiencing it.
And I bet you still want to hold him in your arms, right?
I barely let him out of my sight.
Yes.
But I compete with his wife and 3 little girls.
That's because following Sagi's release, the new father got to meet his now 15-month-old daughter, Shachar, for the first time. When Hamas terrorists abducted Sagi while defending his community of Nir Oz, his pregnant wife, Avital, and 2 daughters, Bari and Gali, remained safely hidden in their home.
Sagi was taken hostage. He, at the time, was wounded. He arrived in Khan Yunis, in the Gaza town right across the border, at around noontime. From there, he was taken to a hospital in Khan Yunis, where his wounds were initially treated.
Just days after the kidnapping, CBN News spoke with Dekel-Chen, who didn't know the fate of his son. Only after 2 months, following the first hostage release, did he hear reports that his son Sagi remained alive. They would not receive official confirmation until February 2025.
We didn't have a positive proof of life until he walked out on his own 2 feet of that Hamas minivan at the meeting point where the Red Cross picked them up in Khan Yunis.
Dekel-Chen says his son spent most of those 16 months underground in Hamas tunnels.
For the duration of those 498 days, he saw no sunlight. That alone to the human body takes a toll. There was very little, if any, medical care given. And we know that there are even people from our kibbutz who died as a result of lack of proper medical care. Constant malnutrition, if not starvation.
Even in the dark, Sagi remained aware of his time in captivity.
Sagi figured out that the 498 days that he was in captivity equates to 43 million seconds. And he felt every one of them.
Founded in 1955, Nir Oz had around 400 members, making it like a big family. Some 47 died during the invasion.
79 were taken hostage from Kibbutz Nir Oz out of the initial 240 hostages who were taken by Hamas and other terrorist groups. Kibbutz Nir Oz was ground zero for the massacre on October 7th and the hostage taking.
About 80% of the remaining Nir Oz residents now live in the southern city of Kiryat Gat. The highest priority is to see the return of the hostages and then deal with the future of their kibbutz.
Our home's completely destroyed. Kibbutz Nir Oz is uninhabitable. But we can't even begin the mourning process and the recovery process until those 14 people are back home amongst the 59. I think at that point we'll begin to formulate what next steps are. For Sagi, there's a recovery and rehabilitation process that he's going to have to go through that's going to take some time.
About half of the surviving community are expected to return and rebuild, while others, including the Dekel-Chen family, will not.
30+% want to go as a community, this is mostly the young families, want to go together to live in a different kibbutz that's not across the border from Gaza.
Dekel-Chen still sees a positive side.
The experiences of the last 16 months have given me a kind of renewed faith in the people of Israel and their supporters around the globe of many different religions. As I mentioned before, we've been embraced by the vast majority of Israelis in the diaspora and by certainly Christian communities everywhere I've gone.
Beyond that, he reflects on miracles that happened in the middle of the horrors.
We can't explain the little miracles that happened within that life-changing experience, other than something that's more faith-based. The terrorists and the looters left about an hour before the first soldier arrived on the kibbutz, or 40 minutes, I believe is the exact number. We don't know why they left, the terrorists and the looters. Had they stayed longer, they would have killed more and raped more and looted more and kidnapped more. My daughter, her family, Sagi's wife, and their daughters could very well have been murdered or kidnapped in those 40 minutes.
What do you think needs to happen in Gaza?
There will never be peace in our region, perhaps beyond, as long as Hamas or a Hamas-like organization, it continues to rule. Through the world community, its generosity and its seriousness about creating a post-Hamas Gaza, these people have to be given, the millions who live there, they're not going anywhere. So the millions who live there have to be given something that they don't want to lose, something good that they don't want to lose. And maybe then we can all have a better future, because going back to what was serves no one.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Kiryat Gat, Israel.
Well, we will continue to pray for those who are impacted by this war. Stay with us. Coming up, we have an encouraging word for your day ahead.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News. Because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
Well, it's Monday again, and let's be real. For most of us, that means hectic schedules and a fresh wave of challenges. Maybe you're facing uncertainty or just feel the weight of it all. But here's the good news. No matter how chaotic your day feels, God is still on the throne. Today's word comes from Psalm 103:19. It says it straight. The Lord has established his throne in heaven, and his kingdom rules over all. So today we can trust the one who reigns. Run your race with faith, because the victory is already his. That'll do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. Talk to us on all social media platforms. See you next time.